There are moments in life that quietly pass by, but leave an echo in the soul. Moments that don't scream, but whisper, and eventually, those whispers turn into the loudest truths. This is about one of those moments. The moment he realizes he lost a woman like you. It's not about anger or regret. It's about understanding the weight of what was lost. Because a woman like you isn't just anyone. She's a force of kindness, strength, and clarity. And when that's gone from someone's life, it's irreplaceable. Let's talk about the truth of that moment, 5 ways it hits, and why it's so powerful. Most people don't notice consistency until it's gone. It's strange, isn't it? How the things that quietly hold life together, the small, steady actions that we barely acknowledge, are the things we miss the most when they disappear. You've always been consistent, not in a flashy, attention-seeking way, but in the way that matters. The way that actually matters. Every promise you made, every word you spoke, every gesture, even the ones that seemed small at the time, was a thread in the fabric of someone else's life. And for the person who failed to notice it, the moment they finally do, it's like the ground has shifted beneath their feet. Consistency isn't just showing up, it's showing up when it's inconvenient. When life is hard, when emotions are tangled, when the world seems determined to test patience, you were there. You answered the calls when no one else would. You stayed in the rooms where silence screamed louder than any words. You supported without asking for recognition. You gave without expecting a return. You were a quiet anchor in someone's life. And because you were always there, because your love was steady, reliable, unwavering, it became invisible. Or maybe it wasn't invisible, maybe he just took it for granted. It's easy to take things for granted when they are constant. That's the trick, isn't it? Human beings have this strange inability to value what seems permanent. A sunrise, for example, doesn't seem remarkable because it happens every day, but the moment it stops rising, even for one morning, the emptiness is staggering. And a woman like you were that sunrise. He saw you every day, maybe noticed the warmth at first, maybe even loved it, but the constancy became invisible. He forgot that behind every steady presence, there is effort, patience, and care. Think about the nights you stayed awake, waiting for him to come home after work, listening to the stories he barely even remembered telling you. Think about the times you held the space for him to cry, to vent, to be human, without ever asking him to reciprocate in equal measure. That's consistency. That's a depth of character that most people encounter once in a lifetime. And yet, because it was never absent, he didn't see it. There's a subtle psychology to this. Research tells us that people often underestimate the value of consistent emotional support until it's gone. Emotional support, kindness, steady presence, they are all measured in small increments day after day. We don't track them like we track money or possessions. We don't notice them like we notice grand gestures or dramatic events. But the human heart notices absence with an intensity that presence rarely commands. When he finally looks around and realizes that the steady hand, the reliable heart, the unwavering love is gone, that's when the truth hits. That's when he understands the magnitude of what he lost. You see, he isn't just losing a partner. He's losing a part of his own stability. He's losing someone who could read him without needing explanations, someone who could anticipate his moods, someone who offered safety without conditions. The quiet moments, the ordinary days, the mundane routines, all of them were woven with care, and they created something extraordinary. And he didn't notice it. Not until you were gone. Think of it like water. When it's there, flowing freely, you drink without thinking. You swim, you wash, you clean without considering the effort it took for the water to arrive at your tap. But the moment it stops, the moment the faucet runs dry, you notice, you feel the absence in every action. That's what he feels now. The love, the patience, the stability you offered were like a river that ran through his life, and he took it for granted. There's another layer to this too. When someone takes consistency for granted, they start to confuse it with entitlement. They start to think that just because you've been there for so long, you always will be, that your love and patience have no limits. They forget that human hearts are not infinite resources. You have your own boundaries, your own needs, your own life. And the moment those boundaries are respected too little and stretched too far, the river of your care can dry up. It's not cruelty. It's reality. I think about the story of a woman I knew. She had been a quiet force in her partner's life for years. She noticed the little things that mattered, celebrated successes, comforted failures, and reminded him gently of his better self. And he never saw it not truly. He assumed her presence was a guarantee, an endless resource, something he could count on without giving thought or effort. Then, one day, she left. Not because she stopped loving him, but because she realized he could no longer see the value of her presence. And in that moment, he understood. But it was too late. Consistency, once taken for granted, cannot always be reclaimed. What's fascinating and tragic is how the mind works in these situations. Human beings often recognize value only when it is absent. Scarcity sharpens perception. He doesn't just feel the loss emotionally, he feels it practically. He notices the silence in conversations, the absence of subtle gestures, the missing reassurances, the lack of someone who just gets him. And suddenly, every ordinary moment he shared with you becomes extraordinary in hindsight. Every small act you did becomes monumental. The laughter you shared, the comfort you gave, the patience you practiced, all of it weighs heavily in his memory because now it is gone. And there's an irony in this, isn't there? The things he missed were never flashy, never loud, never meant to be performance. They were quiet acts of love, acts of care, acts of being present in a world that is often noisy, chaotic, and self-centered. And because he didn't notice them at the time, he underestimates their value. He only sees now that what seemed ordinary was in fact extraordinary. You were extraordinary. He might try to replace what he lost, but it won't be the same. No one else can replicate the combination of patience, understanding, and presence that you offered. You were consistent not because it was easy, but because it was genuine. Consistency born out of obligation feels hollow. Consistency born out of love feels transformative. That's what he misses now. And no amount of apologies or attempts to return can fully restore what he overlooked. And it's not just about love in the romantic sense. It's about how presence shapes life. Imagine every small interaction you had with him, every time you showed up without question, every time you remembered something he forgot, every time you encouraged him quietly instead of making a show of it. That was stability. That was safety. That was love at its purest. And he didn't value it. Not fully. Not until he was faced with the silence left behind. Consistency is a mirror. It shows who you are, and it reflects who the other person is willing to be. When he failed to appreciate your consistency, it wasn't just about him ignoring your efforts. It was about him not rising to meet you, not recognizing that the person who loves consistently is the person who shapes the rhythm of life around them. And that rhythm, once lost, leaves an emptiness that cannot be filled with grand gestures or late realizations. There's something haunting about the realization. He might replay moments in his mind. He might think, if only I had noticed her small acts. If only I had valued the ordinary moments she offered. If only I had not assumed her presence was infinite. And he's right to feel it because that loss is heavy. Losing someone who gave without demanding, who stayed without complaint, who loved without conditions, is the kind of loss that echoes through life. And yet there's also a lesson in it. The lesson isn't for him, it's for you. Your consistency, your patience, your unwavering care are proof of your character. They are a reflection of who you are. And while he may not have recognized it in time, the world is full of people who will see your value, not just once, but in every quiet act, in every gesture that seems too small to notice, in every moment of genuine care. You might wonder why he didn't see it sooner. And the truth is, it's not about him failing. It's about timing, perception, and understanding. Some people cannot recognize the weight of quiet devotion until it is gone. Some people cannot see the extraordinary in the ordinary until it no longer touches them. That's a human limitation, not a reflection of your worth. You were always remarkable. The problem was he didn't see it until he was faced with the reality of your absence. And when that realization hits him, it is subtle, but profound. It doesn't come with fireworks or drama. It comes in quiet moments. When he wakes up and notices she's not there. When he wants advice and remembers there's no one who knows him like she did. When he reaches for comfort and realizes the space she filled is now empty. The weight of what he lost presses down in ways he never anticipated. He took consistency for granted, and now he cannot escape the emptiness left behind. You might even feel a strange satisfaction, not in vengeance, but in recognition of your own power. Your consistency, your unwavering care, your steady presence, they were gifts, and he didn't recognize them, but you did. You valued your own heart, your own efforts, your own love. That is something no one can take away from you. And when he realizes the magnitude of what he lost, he is confronted with a truth he should have known all along. Consistent love, patient care, unwavering support is priceless, and it cannot be replaced once it leaves. There's a subtle truth in life that most people overlook. Depth cannot be replaced by convenience. It seems simple when you say it out loud, but it's something most of us fail to truly grasp until it's too late. Depth is not just intelligence, and it's not just understanding. Depth is the quiet strength of someone who sees beyond the surface, who notices what others miss, who holds space for emotions that are too heavy to carry alone. And when that depth is gone, replaced by convenience, the absence is almost unbearable. You've always been someone with depth. You notice the little things, the pause in a voice that hides emotion, the subtle change in posture that signals exhaustion or worry. You read between the lines not to judge, but to understand. You listen without thinking about what to say next. You speak not to fill silence, but to illuminate it. And you do this because you care, because it matters, because you are a person who believes that life is not just about getting by, but about living meaningfully, feeling deeply, connecting truly. Most people, unfortunately, don't recognize this. Depth is not convenient. It doesn't come with a checklist or a timetable. It doesn't conform to schedules or moods. It requires patience, attentiveness, and emotional effort. And so when they are faced with someone like you who offers more than surface level interaction, who challenges, who questions, who sees, some people are intimidated, some people are unprepared, and some people, because they are drawn to the easy path, try to replace it with convenience. They choose the person who requires less effort, less reflection, less attention, and they don't understand what they are giving up. You see, convenience is comfortable. It's predictable. It doesn't demand much, but depth, real depth, is uncomfortable at times. It forces you to think. It forces you to grow. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. It asks for honesty when lies are easier. It asks for presence when distraction is simpler, and when someone like you offers depth, it is not always appreciated. Not until it is gone. He will realize this. He will realize slowly, almost painfully, that the conversations he once took for granted, the ones where you dissected ideas, explored dreams, and shared vulnerabilities, cannot be replicated by someone who is convenient. A convenient person smiles when it's easy, listens when it's effortless, engages when it suits them. But those interactions are shallow. They lack the gravity, the honesty, the authenticity that only depth can provide. And once he experiences that void, he will understand the difference between a presence that fills a space and a presence that fills a soul. I think about someone I knew once. She had a partner who loved simplicity, who craved the easy life, the effortless companionship. She gave him something more. She gave him honesty when it was uncomfortable, love when it was challenging, patience when it was difficult. She gave him depth, but he didn't see it. He didn't recognize it. And because he didn't, he sought convenience elsewhere. He chose the person who could give him comfort without effort, who could laugh without listening, who could be present without thinking. And for a while, it seemed fine. But it wasn't. Not really, because depth cannot be replaced by convenience. And soon he started to notice. He notices the silence in meaningful conversations. He notices the absence of understanding in conflicts that used to be resolved with empathy. He notices the emptiness in moments that should have carried weight, the hollowness in exchanges that used to feel alive. He remembers the nights when you stayed awake to talk about dreams that felt impossible, when you challenged his fears, when you encouraged him to be more than he thought he could be. And he realizes, with a sense of both regret and awe, that convenience could never give him that. Convenience can mimic interaction, but it cannot mirror insight. Convenience can imitate affection, but it cannot cultivate growth. Convenience can entertain, but it cannot enrich. There's a data-backed truth in relationships that most people overlook. Couples who share emotional depth report significantly higher satisfaction and resilience than those who prioritize ease over engagement. Depth creates connection. Depth creates intimacy. Depth creates a shared world that is alive with understanding and meaning. And when someone loses that depth, the world suddenly feels flatter, quieter, and lonelier. He will feel that. He will feel it in moments of laughter that lack shared understanding, in moments of touch that lack the recognition of your presence, in moments of silence that scream for someone who truly knows him. He will also realize that depth shapes trust. Convenience can give promises, but depth gives credibility. Depth gives consistency of thought and emotion. Depth gives assurance that someone is present not only when it's easy, but when it is hard. And the moment he feels the absence of that, he will understand that he didn't just lose companionship, he lost a foundation, a mirror, a guide. He lost someone who could challenge him, who could elevate him, who could inspire him to see life with more clarity and courage. And no one else can do that the way you could. Depth also teaches patience and emotional intelligence. Someone who offers depth is patient with flaws, empathetic to struggles, and willing to work through discomfort instead of avoiding it. Convenience bypasses these lessons. It skips over growth and understanding in favor of immediate gratification. And while immediate gratification feels easy, it is shallow, it fades, depth endures. And when he finally sees this, he will realize that his pursuit of ease cost him the rare chance to experience something enduring. The irony is that people often don't appreciate depth until they are faced with its absence. You can give it, and it can be ignored. You can show care, and it can be overlooked. You can offer insight, and it can be dismissed. And yet, the heart never forgets. Even if the mind does, the heart remembers. And when he feels the absence of your depth, when he feels the weight of conversations left unfinished, the silence where understanding used to dwell, the emptiness in experiences once shared, he will recognize too late what he lost, and he might try to fill it. He might try to find it in someone new. But depth is unique. It cannot be mass-produced, duplicated, or replaced. It is woven from life experiences, from empathy, from courage, from authenticity. It is cultivated, nurtured, and earned. You cannot be replicated. Your thoughts, your emotions, your presence, the way you perceive the world and the way you perceive him, these are yours alone. And when he discovers that the weight of loss will hit him with clarity and finality, think of the ordinary moments you shared, the long walks where conversations drifted from trivial to profound, the quiet evenings spent exploring ideas, the moments of vulnerability when you bared your soul. Those were moments of depth, moments of connection, moments of life lived fully. Convenience cannot offer that. Convenience offers ease, but ease is hollow without meaning. He will realize, perhaps too late, that the comfort he sought could never compare to the richness he ignored. There's a subtle cruelty in convenience. It promises relief but steals fulfillment. It offers simplicity but robs the soul. He might have thought he wanted less challenge, fewer complexities, easier paths. But he will realize that the very complexities, the very challenges, The very intensity of your depth were the things that made life vibrant. They were the things that made connection real, love transformative, and presence irreplaceable. And now, when he encounters someone convenient, he will feel the lack. He will feel the emptiness where once there was a life full of engagement, understanding, and profound connection. Depth is rare. Not everyone can give it. Not everyone can see it. Not everyone can appreciate it. And once someone like you is gone, he will realize that he gave up something extraordinary for something ordinary. He will remember how you questioned, how you listened, how you encouraged, how you loved not because it was easy, but because it mattered. He will remember the nights when you stayed awake to talk, the moments when you challenged him to grow, the quiet strength you offered without asking for recognition. And he will see, too late, that convenience can never compete with that. He will understand that relationships built on convenience are fragile. They cannot withstand storms, they cannot endure hardships, and they cannot carry the weight of life's complexity. Depth is what sustains love when times are hard, when circumstances are uncertain, when emotions are raw. Depth is what allows two people to grow together, to understand each other's flaws, to celebrate each other's victories, to navigate the world with shared purpose. And he will realize that he let all of that slip through his fingers in search of something easier, something simpler, something less demanding. He will remember the subtle ways you enriched his life, the insights you offered, the care you showed, the unwavering attention to detail, the ability to see what others could not. He will recall how your depth inspired him, challenged him, and held him accountable. And he will feel the void that convenience cannot fill. He will feel the hollow laughter, the shallow conversations, the absence of someone who truly knew him and loved him for all that he was, not just the parts that were easy to love. And when he finally confronts the truth, he will feel it in the quiet moments, in the silence after a conversation, in the empty chair at the table, in the absence of the one person who made life feel full. He will realize that depth cannot be replaced with convenience. That richness, that authenticity, that rare gift of seeing and being seen cannot be duplicated. That love, real love, is not easy. It is profound. And he will know that he lost something extraordinary, something irreplaceable, something he cannot find anywhere else. And in that realization, he will understand not just what he lost, but why he lost it. He will see that depth requires appreciation, attention, and respect. He will see that convenience is fleeting and depth endures. He will see that the person who offers depth is not just giving love, they are shaping life itself, crafting moments that linger, building connections that matter. And he will know that no shortcut, no easy path, no convenient substitute can ever recreate that. Independence is misunderstood more often than it should be. People see it and mistake it for distance, for detachment, for coldness. They think that someone who values their own space, their own growth, their own life must be difficult or disinterested. They confuse self-reliance with rejection. They confuse confidence with arrogance. But independence is not a weakness. It is not a flaw. It is a gift. And the moment he realizes that, the moment he truly sees it, the weight of what he lost will hit him like nothing else. You've always had your own life. You have dreams that you chase, passions that consume you, goals that light a fire in your chest. You wake up every day and invest in yourself, in your growth, in your vision for the future. And that is something remarkable. That is something rare. Because in a world where so many people rely on others to define their worth, you are self-sufficient. You are a force unto yourself. And that is not a weakness. That is strength. Most people don't understand independence until they lose it. They see it and feel insecure. They wonder, why isn't she always waiting for me? Why doesn't she need me the way I need her? Why can't I control her? They try to fill her time with constant attention, to tether her with expectation, to diminish the very essence that makes her extraordinary. They fail to see that your independence is not a threat to love. It is the foundation of it. It is proof that you are whole, that you are capable, that you bring your own light into the relationship rather than looking to others to provide it. He will realize this. He will realize that independence does not mean distance. It does not mean apathy. It does not mean coldness. It means self-respect, emotional maturity, and clarity. It means that when you are with someone, you are there not out of need, but out of choice. It means that your love is a gift freely given, not a lifeline desperately clutched. And when he sees that, he will recognize the enormity of what he had and what he let slip away. Think about the times you pursued your own dreams while still making space for connection. You went after what mattered to you, whether it was a career, a creative pursuit, or personal growth, and you did not apologize for it. You did not shrink yourself to make him comfortable. You did not compromise your identity to fit into his expectations. That is courage. That is integrity. That is strength. And many people, when faced with it, mistake it for defiance. They don't see that independence is not about separation. It is about being whole and choosing to share that wholeness with someone who deserves it. He will remember the moments when you encouraged him to pursue his own life, to explore his passions, to grow into the best version of himself. He will remember how you never clung, never demanded, never suffocated. You trusted him to be himself, and you trusted yourself to be yourself. That balance, that freedom is rare, and he will realize painfully that no one else can replicate it. No one else can love in such a way that allows growth instead of control, freedom instead of dependence, respect instead of possession. The world often values convenience over courage, simplicity over strength. Many people prefer a partner who will mold themselves around their needs, who will bend and sway to accommodate insecurities, who will wait passively instead of walking confidently beside them. But independence cannot be molded, cannot be bent, cannot be silenced. And that is why it is a gift. It gives clarity, it gives perspective, it gives life. It shows that love is not about holding on. It is about choosing to stay present because you want to, because you see the value, because you respect both yourself and the other person enough to engage fully. He will notice, too, that independence brings balance. It allows relationships to breathe. It allows love to grow naturally, without suffocating expectation or emotional neediness. When he had you, he might have taken this for granted. He might have thought, she doesn't need me, so why does she choose me? And in that misunderstanding lies the tragedy. Independence is not a lack, it is the most profound proof of choice. Every moment you were present, every gesture of care, every word of love was because you wanted to give it, not because you had to. And he will realize that that kind of love cannot be forced, cannot be demanded, and cannot be replaced. Think of it in practical terms. Independence requires self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and resilience. Someone who is independent can navigate the complexities of life with grace. They do not crumble under stress. They do not depend on validation. They do not measure themselves by someone else's approval. They bring strength into the relationship, not fragility. And when he realizes this, he will understand the void left by your absence. He will feel the difference between someone who loves freely and fully and someone who is tethered by need, insecurity, or convenience. He will also notice that independence nurtures authenticity. When you are independent, you cannot be easily manipulated. You cannot be swayed by shallow gestures. You cannot pretend to be someone you are not. You stand firm in your values, your beliefs, and your identity. That authenticity is magnetic. That authenticity is transformative. And when he sees that you no longer share your life with him, he will see how rare it was to be with someone who brought both strength and vulnerability, freedom and commitment, courage and compassion into every interaction. There's a paradox in independence that many people fail to understand. They think that love must be possessive, that closeness must equal dependence, that security must come from control. But real love, love from someone independent, defies all of that. It is not anchored in fear. It is not dependent on need. It is rooted in choice. It is given freely, without strings, without obligation, without compromise of self. And that freedom, when recognized, is not a weakness. It is a gift, a treasure, a rarity. And he will realize it slowly, painfully, with the quiet weight of absences. He will remember the times when you encouraged him to stand on his own, to face challenges, to pursue growth. He will remember how you never interfered unnecessarily, how you never demanded time or attention, how you never sacrificed your essence for the sake of his comfort. That is not indifference. That is love. That is respect. That is integrity. And when he experiences the loss of that, he will understand that independence was not a wall, but a bridge that connected two whole people, each respecting the other's space, each contributing fully without diminishing themselves. Think about the quiet moments of your independence, the mornings when you chased your dreams while he slept, the evenings when you reflected, the hours when you built yourself into someone who could give love without losing identity. That is extraordinary. That is rare. That is impossible to replicate. And when he finally confronts the truth, he will feel it. He will feel the emptiness where freedom once existed, the silence where choice once lived, the void where courage and authenticity once shone. He will understand that independence is not distance, it is presence at its purest. And he lost it. He might have tried to change your independence into dependence. He might have sought to confine it, to challenge it, to diminish it. And in doing so, he missed the essence of your gift. He failed to see that the very qualities that made you independent also made you compassionate, loving, strong, and rare. He confused control with care, expectation with love, need with connection. And the moment you left, the moment he felt the absence of someone who could love freely while standing firmly in herself, he realized the magnitude of his mistake. Independence is strength disguised as solitude. It is courage disguised as choice. It is love disguised as freedom. And the person who fails to recognize it will eventually understand, through absence and regret, that it cannot be replaced. You cannot replicate the balance of a heart that gives without depending, that loves without losing self, that connects without clinging. You cannot replace someone who brings their own light into a relationship rather than seeking to draw it from others. And when he feels that absence, he will feel the depth of loss in ways he never anticipated. And when he finally understands it, he will understand not just what he lost, but why it was impossible to replace. He will realize that independence nurtures resilience, encourages authenticity, creates space for growth, and deepens connection. He will see that love that is given freely by someone whole is the most precious love of all. He will feel in the quiet, in the small moments, the absence of someone who could share life fully without diminishing herself. And he will know with clarity and weight that he lost a gift, a rare, extraordinary gift that he cannot find elsewhere. Emotional honesty is one of those rare qualities that most people don't recognize until it's gone. It's not just saying what you feel or speaking your mind. It's the courage to show vulnerability, the courage to be real even when it's uncomfortable, the courage to risk rejection because the truth matters more than convenience. It's rare because it demands courage, and courage is not easy. And the moment he realizes that he lost it, he will understand the gravity of what he threw away, the weight of what he failed to cherish. You've always been emotionally honest. You've never hidden your feelings to please someone, never masked your truth to make things easier. You've shared your fears, your dreams, your disappointments, and your joys, not because it was convenient, but because it was necessary. And in doing so, you created a connection that was real, authentic, and enduring. Emotional honesty isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply exists quietly, profoundly, and powerfully. And the person who fails to value it will only understand its worth when it disappears. Most people think love is about charm, attraction, and gestures. They think love is about smiling at the right time or saying the right words. But emotional honesty is what makes love real. It's what turns connection into intimacy. It's what transforms two people living side by side into two souls understanding each other, reflecting each other, growing together. And when he lost that, he didn't just lose a partner, he lost someone who made truth and authenticity a part of every interaction, every conversation, every shared moment. Think about the countless times you were honest, even when it hurt. You didn't say things to hurt or punish. You said them because love without truth is hollow. You spoke the uncomfortable words when silence would have been easier. You asked the hard questions when avoidance would have been convenient. You shared the feelings that most people hide because it's easier to protect themselves than to risk conflict, discomfort, or rejection. That is strength. That is love. That is priceless. He might have taken it for granted. He might have seen it as complaining or overthinking or making things complicated. And that is the tragedy. Emotional honesty is rare because it cannot be faked. It cannot be performed. It cannot be replaced by polite agreements or superficial gestures. It demands a willingness to show oneself fully and to accept the same from the other person. And most people, when faced with it, do not appreciate it. They fail to see that emotional honesty is the foundation of trust, the bedrock of intimacy, the light that allows a relationship to grow instead of crumble. He will realize it slowly, almost painfully. He will notice the absence in the smallest moments, the way conversations now feel empty, the way silence feels heavier than it should, the way he reaches for someone to confide in and finds no one who can truly understand him. He will remember the times when you were honest about your needs, your boundaries, your feelings, and how that honesty allowed him to grow. He will remember the moments when you called him out on things that mattered, when you didn't sugarcoat the truth, when you didn't let him settle for less than he could be. And he will realize that convenience, charm, or superficial connection can never replace that. Emotional honesty is priceless because it is transformative. It allows relationships to evolve, to deepen, to become something more than the sum of their parts. It allows two people to see each other fully, to accept imperfections, to navigate challenges with clarity instead of confusion. And when that is gone, he will realize how much of life he has experienced without understanding, how many moments felt empty because they lacked the substance of truth. You have always known that honesty is not about confrontation. It's about clarity. It's about respect. It's about valuing the other person enough to show them who you are, not who they want you to be. And that is rare. Most people never encounter someone who can be honest without being cruel, vulnerable without being weak, open without being careless. They mistake avoidance for peace, silence for contentment, compliance for love. And then they are faced with the absence of someone who understood that truth is the most powerful form of care. He will feel the absence in ways he cannot ignore. He will remember the moments when you shared your fears and dreams, your disappointments and your hopes, and he will feel the void where that honesty once lived. He will realize that no one else can replicate the way you saw him, understood him, and challenged him with love. Emotional honesty is like a rare gem. Its value is only fully understood when it is lost, and he will understand too late that he took it for granted. Think of the times you corrected him with kindness, guided him with patience, or confronted difficult truths because you cared. That is the kind of honesty that builds character, nurtures growth, and strengthens love. It is not performative. It is not conditional. It is unwavering, sincere, and brave. And when he experiences its absence, he will feel the hollowness of conversations that once were rich with understanding, the emptiness of connections that once had substance, the loneliness of interactions that now lack clarity. He will realize that honesty cannot be faked, cannot be imitated, and cannot be replaced. Emotional honesty also fosters trust. Trust is not blind, it is earned. It is cultivated through consistency, courage, and truth. And when you gave your truth, you gave him the chance to build trust on a foundation of clarity. He might have ignored it, dismissed it, or failed to value it. But once you are gone, he will feel the weight of that absence. He will realize that trust, once nurtured by honesty, cannot be fully rebuilt with convenience or charm. Trust requires truth, and truth requires courage, and you embodied both. He might try to fill the void with someone new, someone easier, someone who avoids discomfort and truth. But he will quickly understand that convenience cannot replace substance. Surface level gestures cannot replicate the depth of emotional honesty. Empty words cannot replace heartfelt communication. And the absence of someone willing to be emotionally honest is a void that cannot be filled by charm or superficial affection. He will realize with a painful clarity that he cannot recreate what he allowed to slip away. Emotional honesty is also priceless because it inspires growth. It challenges both people to evolve, to confront weaknesses, to embrace courage, to deepen understanding. Without honesty, relationships stagnate. Without honesty, love becomes a habit, a routine, a series of gestures devoid of meaning. You offered something far more valuable than routine. You offered truth. You offered clarity. You offered the chance to grow together, to navigate life authentically, to love fully without pretense. And he will feel the absence of that growth, that authenticity, that shared courage. Every day he realizes what he lost. He will recall the moments when you shared your emotions, not to manipulate, not to punish, not to burden, but to connect. He will remember the times when your words were difficult to hear, but he recognized their truth. He will remember the care in your tone, the clarity in your expression, the bravery in your vulnerability, and he will understand that no superficial replacement can ever replicate the authenticity, the courage, the depth you brought into his life. Think about the ordinary moments he ignored, the small confessions, the quiet admissions, the times you revealed fear, joy, longing, or doubt. They seemed ordinary to him then, perhaps inconvenient, perhaps overlooked. But those were the moments that built intimacy, the moments that created connection, the moments that formed the unshakable foundation of love. And now that they are gone, he will realize how priceless they were. He will feel the absence in ways that are quiet, subtle, but profoundly impactful. He will feel it in conversations that now feel hollow, in silences that now feel heavier, in connections that now feel shallow. Emotional honesty cannot be replicated. It cannot be learned overnight. It cannot be faked or borrowed. It is a reflection of courage, integrity, and authenticity. It is the rare ability to be seen fully and to see others fully. And when he realizes its absence, he will understand the depth of loss, the magnitude of what he threw away, the gravity of what he failed to value. And he will understand that it is not just about words or confessions. It is about presence. It is about showing up fully, with intention, with clarity, with courage. It is about creating a space where truth is safe, where emotions are honored, where connection is real, and he will see that he took it for granted. He will see that he allowed convenience, avoidance, or misunderstanding to blind him to the priceless gift he had. And now, in its absence, he will feel the weight of that loss in every interaction, every moment, every quiet reflection. He will remember the countless ways you embodied emotional honesty, the corrections given gently, the encouragement offered sincerely, the truth spoken with love and care. He will remember how you never compromised authenticity for convenience, never hid your emotions to make life easier, never settled for superficial connections when deep understanding was possible. And he will realize, too late, that the person who can offer that kind of honesty is irreplaceable. The truth is, emotional honesty is more than a trait. It is a form of love. It is the courage to give love fully, without hiding, without pretending, without reservation. It is the courage to be real when masks would be easier. It is the courage to risk rejection because truth is more valuable than convenience. And when he feels the absence of that love, he will know that he lost something priceless, something rare, something that cannot be replaced by charm, convenience, or superficial affection. He will realize that honesty is not just about communication. It is about trust, intimacy, authenticity, courage, and growth. He will realize that the absence of emotional honesty leaves a void that no other connection can fill. He will feel it in the silence, in the conversations that now lack substance, in the absence of someone who could see him, understand him, and love him fully without pretense. He will understand the rarity, the value, the power, and the irreplaceable nature of what he lost. And in that realization, he will finally comprehend the magnitude of emotional honesty, why it is priceless, why it cannot be replaced, and why losing it is one of the most profound losses a person can experience. Love is one of those things that people often misunderstand. They think it is about possession, about control, about holding someone close tightly enough that they can't leave. They confuse attachment with affection, desire with devotion, need with connection. But real love is not about having someone, it is about appreciating them, valuing them, and respecting them fully for who they are. And the moment he realizes this, the moment he understands that he lost a woman who loved not to possess, but to give freely, he will feel a weight that cannot be lifted, a truth that cannot be ignored, a loss that cannot be replaced. You've always loved in a way that is rare and extraordinary. You give your heart fully, but you do not bind it to someone else's limitations. You offer care, attention, and affection freely, not to control or manipulate, but to nurture, to inspire, to honor the person you love. You understand that love is not a transaction, not a tool, not a possession. It is a shared experience, a mutual respect, a dance of souls that requires freedom as much as devotion. And that is something most people cannot grasp until it is gone. He might have thought love was about closeness, about constant attention, about making sure that you were never apart. He might have believed that if he controlled certain aspects of your life, if he demanded certain gestures, if he claimed ownership over your time or your decisions, that he was loving. And in that misunderstanding lies the tragedy. Love is not about possession, it is about appreciation. It is about seeing someone fully and valuing them for who they are, not for what you can extract from them or how they make your life easier. He will realize it slowly, in ways that feel subtle at first, but grow heavier with time. He will notice the absence of someone who did not seek to control him, but who encouraged him to grow, to evolve, to pursue his own life while sharing hers. He will notice that when he tried to take your love for granted, you did not cling, you did not manipulate, you did not beg. You loved with freedom, with integrity, with courage. And that is a kind of love that cannot be manufactured, that cannot be replicated, that cannot be replaced by charm, attention, or convenience. Think about the countless ways you showed appreciation rather than possession. You listened when he spoke, even when it was difficult to understand. You supported him when he stumbled, without trying to steer him forcibly or diminish his choices. You celebrated his victories, small and large, not because they reflected on you, but because you valued his happiness and growth. And all the while, you maintained your own life, your own passions, your own boundaries. That balance, the balance of loving fully while remaining fully yourself, is rare, and he will realize its absence more keenly than anything else. He will remember the moments when you allowed him freedom without fear. When he made mistakes, you guided rather than punished. When he struggled, you encouraged rather than demanded. When he doubted, you reminded him of his worth without diminishing your own. That is love in its purest form. That is appreciation without possession. And he will realize, with a painful clarity, that this kind of love is extraordinary, almost impossible to find twice. Most people do not understand that love requires space. They think that closeness equals devotion, that possession equals care, that constant attention equals commitment. But love that is forced, that is constrained, that is measured by control is fragile. It cannot endure storms, it cannot weather challenges, it cannot survive in the quiet moments when life demands authenticity rather than performance. And when he sees that you are no longer there, loving freely and fully, he will understand that he took something unquantifiable for granted. He will feel the void of someone who gave love as a gift, not as a commodity, as a treasure, not as a tool. He will notice the emptiness in relationships that try to replicate what he lost with convenience, attention, or charm. He will see that others may try to claim to hold, to bind, but that possession is hollow compared to appreciation. Appreciation is active, alive, sustaining. Possession is passive, controlling, fleeting. He will realize that he had someone who gave him the truest form of love imaginable, a love that honored him, celebrated him, trusted him, and chose him freely, and that he failed to see its value until it was gone. Consider the quiet moments he ignored, the times you shared laughter without expectation, the evenings spent listening and talking with sincerity, the moments when your eyes met and conveyed understanding beyond words. These were not superficial gestures. They were acts of love rooted in appreciation. You were fully present, fully engaged, fully giving of yourself without taking from him. And when he lost you, the absence of these moments will resonate with him in ways he cannot escape. The ordinary moments will become extraordinary in their absence. The silence will scream louder than words ever could. He might have believed that love was about convenience, about possession, about control. He might have thought that keeping you close through demands, expectations, or manipulation was the way to sustain your presence. And in that misunderstanding, he failed to value the essence of what you offered. He failed to see that love given freely, without chains, without conditions, is infinitely more precious than love that is forced or constrained. And now, when he encounters the reality of your absence, he will feel the weight of that error, the enormity of what he failed to appreciate, the irreplaceable loss of someone who loved without possession and lived without surrendering herself. Appreciation is a rare form of love because it requires perception. It requires awareness of the other person's value, attention to their needs, and a willingness to honor their being without diminishing your own. It is not about what someone does for you. It is about seeing who they are and valuing them for it. And when he lost you, he lost not just a partner, but a teacher of what true love looks like. He lost someone who could demonstrate through actions, words, and presence that love is not about chains, but about freedom, not about ownership, but about recognition, not about demand, but about gratitude. He will notice it in the smallest things, in conversations that now feel hollow, in gestures that now feel performative, in moments of connection that now lack substance. He will feel the absence of someone who offered honesty without blame, guidance without pressure, support without control. He will remember the times when you encouraged his growth without diminishing your own, when you provided comfort without demanding repayment, when you offered love without expectation. And he will understand too late that these are qualities that cannot be manufactured, cannot be imitated, cannot be replaced. He will remember the freedom he once had, the freedom to make mistakes, to pursue his own dreams, to be imperfect, to be himself, without fear of judgment or pressure. That freedom, once provided by someone who loved without possession, is rare and extraordinary. And in its absence, he will realize that possession is hollow. It cannot create connection. It cannot foster trust. It cannot sustain intimacy. Only appreciation, only the recognition of another person's value can do that. And that is what he lost. He will also understand that love rooted in appreciation encourages authenticity. It allows both people to show up fully, without pretense, without fear, without compromise of self. It allows growth, exploration, and vulnerability. Possession, on the other hand, often demands performance, compliance, and restraint. When he loses someone who loved him with appreciation, he loses the rare opportunity to experience love that is freeing, sustaining, and transformative. He will feel it in the absence of those authentic moments, in the weight of conversations that now feel scripted, in the hollowness of connection that lacks freedom and sincerity. Think of the ordinary gestures he once overlooked, the smile that said more than words, the quiet support that sustained him, the encouragement that lifted him in times of doubt, the patience that met his mistakes without resentment. These were not small, these were not insignificant, these were expressions of love rooted in appreciation, given freely and fully. And he will realize too late that no charm, no attention, No convenience can replicate what he lost when he took you for granted. Love is priceless not because it is convenient or easy, but because it is courageous and rare. To love without possession is to trust, to honor, to respect, to see. And when he lost that, he lost someone whose presence in his life elevated him, nurtured him, and inspired him in ways he cannot find elsewhere. He will remember the ways you inspired him without demanding change, guided him without pressure, challenged him without control, and loved him without chains. And he will understand with clarity and weight that love given in this way is a gift that cannot be replicated. He will realize that the absence of appreciation leaves a void that cannot be filled by convenience, charm, or superficial gestures. He will understand that possession creates temporary comfort but never deep connection. He will feel the emptiness in moments that once held meaning, the silence in conversations that once carried truth, the distance in interactions that once had warmth. And he will know with undeniable clarity that he lost something irreplaceable, something extraordinary, something priceless, the gift of being loved freely, fully, and without expectation by someone who respected both himself and herself enough to honor that truth. And in that realization, he will feel the gravity of loss, not in loud confrontations, not in dramatic moments, not in gestures of revenge, but in quiet reflection, in the hollow spaces of life that once overflowed with love. He will remember that true love is not about possession. It is about appreciation, gratitude, recognition, respect, and freedom. And he will understand that what he lost cannot be reclaimed, cannot be replaced, and cannot be duplicated. The moment he realizes he lost a woman like you is quiet, subtle, and devastating. It's not the shouting, the arguments, or the fights. It's the absence of light in his life, the warmth that only you could give. But remember this, your value is not defined by someone who failed to see it. Your strength is in knowing that you gave love wholly, honestly, and courageously. In the world, someone worthy will see it. The one who truly deserves a woman like you will never let her go. Because the truth is simple, those who recognize your worth don't chase. They treasure.